The year is 1177 BC. The sky has turned black, crops fail, cities burn, and the greatest empires on earth are collapsing, one by one. Egypt, Mycenae, Babylon. For centuries they ruled the world, trading gold, ideas, and power across the seas. Their kings believed their kingdoms would last forever, but within a single lifetime, everything ended. Palaces abandoned, temples looted, writing forgotten. Letters from desperate rulers still whisper from the dust. The enemy is at the gates. My cities burn. Send help quickly. No help ever came. What force could wipe out an entire world without a single empire surviving to tell the tale? This is the story of the day civilization collapsed. Before the sky turned black, the world was shining. Across the eastern Mediterranean stretched a network of empires: Egypt, Mycenae, Babylon, the Hittites, and more, linked by bronze, trade, and trust. Ships carved paths through blue water, their sails heavy with copper and tin, the lifeblood of a global age. Gold from Nubia, cedar from Lebanon, spices from Cyprus. Every shore fed another. Merchants spoke many tongues but shared one dream: prosperity that would never end. In Egypt, pharaohs ruled from palaces of sunlight. In Greece, warriors forged legends that would one day become myths. In Babylon, scribes wrote the laws of kings on clay that still survives today. For the first time in history, humanity was connected. The world was not divided by seas. It was united by them. But every thread that binds also weakens the weave. One broken link, and everything can unravel. If stories like this fascinate you, ancient worlds lost to time, subscribe to Untold Civilizations and help us uncover more forgotten empires. Because what comes next will change history forever. But the Golden Age never lasts forever. At first, the signs were easy to ignore. The rains came late, the rivers ran dry, harvests shrank to dust beneath a burning sun. Merchants whispered of empty ports and ships that never returned. Caravans vanished in deserts that once bloomed with grain, and letters began to sound like cries for help. From city to city, rulers pleaded with their neighbors. Send grain, send soldiers. My people are starving, but no one had any to spare. The gods had fallen silent. Temples that once overflowed with offerings grew cold and empty. And in the east, earthquakes shattered walls that had stood for centuries. Everywhere, the world trembled, but no one understood that the shaking had just begun. What had been a web of peace was now a chain of weakness, and soon every link would snap. Then came the ships. Dark silhouettes on the horizon, hundreds of them, sails black with smoke, crews armored in strange designs no one had ever seen before. They came from the sea like a storm, and with them came the end. Cities along the coast fell in flames. First Cyprus, then Ugarit, then the great ports of the Hittites. Clay tablets found in the ashes still carry their final messages. The enemy ships are approaching. The city is burning. We have no way to escape. No one ever heard from them again. They called these invaders the Sea Peoples. But who they were, no one knows. Were they pirates? Refugees from famine? Or an army of desperate survivors from fallen lands? They fought with ferocity no empire could match. They burned what they could not steal. They destroyed what they could not rule. Egypt met them in battle on its own shores. Pharaoh Ramesses III carved his victory into temple walls. Great ships colliding in chaos. Archers raining fire. The Nile running red. Egypt survived, but only barely. The rest of the world did not. When the smoke cleared, the Sea Peoples were gone. No one knew where they came from. No one knew where they went. Only the ruins remained, entire empires erased in a single generation. And as the seas grew quiet again, The Age of Kings was over. If this mystery pulls you in, hit like. It helps more people discover the forgotten battles that shaped our world. The war ended, but peace never returned. The great cities were gone. Palaces lay in ruins. Libraries burned to ash. And the roads that once carried life now led only to silence. In Greece, the proud palaces of Mycenae and Pylos stood empty. In Anatolia, the Hittite capital of Hattusa was swallowed by fire. Even mighty Babylon trembled. For the first time in human memory, writing itself began to disappear. Scribes vanished, languages forgotten, generations born who could no longer read the words of their ancestors. Trade stopped, temples crumbled, whole nations simply ceased to exist. The world had fallen into darkness, not of night, but of memory. And for centuries, no one would know what had been lost. No kings, no letters, no monuments to boast of power, only ruins standing against the wind, whispering of a time when humanity reached too high, and the gods took it all away. Centuries later, when archaeologists began to dig through the ashes, they found something strange. Everywhere they looked, Greece, Egypt, Anatolia, Syria, they found the same story. Cities burned at the same time, palaces abandoned in the same decade. It was as if the entire world had collapsed together. But why? Some believed it began with the sky. Volcanic ash buried deep in ice cores tells of a massive eruption around 1200 BC, a winter that never ended. Dark clouds that blocked the sun for months. Crops failed. Famine spread like fire. Others blamed the earth itself. Across the Mediterranean, layers of broken stone reveal violent earthquakes. Whole coastlines shifted. Harbors disappeared beneath the sea. But nature was only part of the story. As famine and fear spread, people began to move. Thousands left their homes. Warriors, families, refugees, sailing across the sea in search of food and land. They became the Sea Peoples. Not conquerors, but survivors. And yet, even that is not the full answer. The Bronze Age was the first globalized world. Every kingdom depended on another for metal, grain, and trade. When one fell, the rest followed, like dominoes carved in stone. It wasn't a single disaster, it was a chain reaction. A drought became famine, famine became war, war became collapse, and the world that once believed itself eternal shattered in silence. But maybe the greatest mystery isn't how it fell, it's how close we still are to it. Because today, once again, our world is connected by fragile threads, trade, technology, dependence, and as history shows, all it takes is one broken link. Out of the ashes, the world began to breathe again. The silence that followed the collapse lasted for centuries, but silence does not mean death. It means waiting. Slowly, new voices began to rise. In the valleys of Greece, small tribes gathered where palaces once stood. They told stories of the heroes who came before them, stories that would one day become the myths of Homer. In the east, a new empire took shape, the Assyrians, hard, disciplined, forged by survival. In the lands of Canaan, small kingdoms emerged, carrying the first written traces of names we still know today. From ruin came reinvention. Iron replaced bronze, new trade routes formed, new gods were worshipped. Humanity adapted, evolved, and endured. The world did not end in 1177 BC. It transformed. The collapse was not just a tragedy, it was a reset. A reminder that nothing built by human hands is eternal, but the will to rebuild always is. Every ruin holds the seed of something new. Every ending leaves behind a beginning. And maybe that's the real lesson of the Bronze Age. Civilizations rise and fall, but humanity always finds a way back to the light. If this moment of rebirth gives you hope, press like. It helps more people rediscover the stories that remind us how resilient we truly are. The world that ended in 1177 BC is gone, but its ruins still whisper. They remind us that no empire lasts forever, and that even in collapse, humanity endures. We fall, we rebuild, we remember. If this story made you feel the weight of time, leave a like and subscribe to Untold Civilizations, where every ruin has a story, and every story brings history back to life.